More holiday drama for the drama gods. Family situation is not awesome to start with, but they upped the ante and now want to backtrack. I'm okay with being the AH if that's how it plays out, but I don't really see this as being as bad as my mom is making it out to be. My 25-year-old female dad died when I was 7. My mom remarried when I was 9 and had Jill, 15-year-old female, and Janet, 13-year-old female, with her new husband afterward. I have never liked her husband as he seemed dead set on replacing my dad and winning me over in the most obvious and obnoxious ways possible. I tolerated him as much as I could stand, but I have always refused to allow him to be called my dad or to act as if he is in any way. And when I moved out, I told him not to contact me unless something was wrong with Mom. I don't feel anything towards Jill and Janet and avoid them. I don't see them as siblings, even if they are by blood. This upset my mom and her husband, and I guess the kids, but there's nothing they can do about it. I can't feel what I don't feel, and I won't fake it. Since I left home, I usually spend the holidays with my dad's parents, visit my mom without the others, and go to the reunion on her side, where there are enough people that I don't have to deal with the others. This arrangement has been fine until last year, when my mom asked me to stay with them. I declined. She asked me if it was because of her husband and the girls. I said yes. I feel like keeping distance there is best. She told me if I'm not going to be part of her family, to not come at all anymore. I said okay, and still went to my grandparents and visited with members of the other side separately, but didn't see her or go to the big get-together. She lit my phone up like crazy, trying to get me to change my mind. It was embarrassing. This year, she asked when I wanted to get together with her, while I'm there, as if nothing happened. I told her I would respect her boundaries by not seeing her, since I'm not willing to play happy family with her husband and kids, and she set that as a condition. She said that wasn't what she meant, and she wants to see me. I told her she doesn't get to retract the ultimatum once laid out. If she wants to see me, she can travel to me, without the others, any time of year. But I'm going to see my family for Christmas, and if she doesn't want to be included in that, she doesn't have to be. Anyway, got a long screed from her husband, essentially calling me an AH. Jill apparently stalks my social media and tried trolling me, but I deleted her comments and blocked her without responding. I explained the situation to my grandparents on that side, and they say that my mom's husband gave her an ultimatum about me, so she's in a difficult place and doesn't know how to fix it. They suggested that they, my mom, and I have lunch to talk it out, but finding out that her husband was behind last year's issue makes me not want to deal with it even more. Edit. Thank you for the perspectives both from those that voted it through, not the idiot, and those that voted yes. You're the idiot. It was interesting to read the dichotomy, and as I've been stuck in airports all day, it has given me some time and a starting place to think through my next move. For those triggered into becoming incoherently verbally hurtful in my inbox, my best wishes for overcoming whatever difficulty is plaguing your psyche. And thank you for providing a few anonymous examples to add to an upcoming lecture on various forms of cyberbullying. I will discuss the potential impact with a few trusted family members on that side first, and not make a snap decision. But I think I would prefer to simply end the debate myself and close the door on contact with my mom for the foreseeable future, instead of dragging this out while she dithers about whether she's allowed to see me or not. Maybe it can be reopened at some point in the future, if everyone is amenable, once there's been a chance to process and reflect. But even if not, I have no doubt that things will work out as they should. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. I'm going against the rest and say, not the idiot. You don't like these people. You maintain distance, aren't mean, simply don't engage. That's not childish. That's what you do when you don't like someone. They aren't family to OP. Stepfather has hurt feelings, despite OP doing nothing to him except not engaging with him. He childishly demands Mom make ultimatums to try and get his way. Mom should have told her husband that her relationship with her daughter was not his concern, and to butt out, but instead, her mother tried to force her, at 25 years old, to accept these people as family because her husband demanded it. OP honors Mom's ultimatum. Now Mom has faffoed, and instead of just apologizing like an adult and setting boundaries with her husband, she's wringing her hands and acting like the victim. No, OP is not the idiot here. She has done nothing wrong. You can't force people to be family if they don't feel it, and you shouldn't. Comment 2. Not the idiot. She issued the ultimatum because she thought it would make you give in. Now she's trying to walk it back, because not only did you not pick her, She's now copying it from everyone around her. She made a bad choice. Now she has to live with the consequences, both for her and her husband, other kids. As long as you're happy with the level of communication, there's no need to change just because she's upset that she constantly picked her husband over you. Now for the update. Hey everyone, thanks for all the comments on my last post. It's been a wild few days, and I've got quite the update for you. So, after I posted last time, things took an unexpected turn. My mom showed up at my grandparents' place unannounced. She was alone, which was a shocker considering how she's been glued to her husband and my half-sisters for years. She looked like she had been crying, and my grandma, being the soft-hearted woman she is, let her in without a second thought. Turns out, my mom's husband had been putting a lot of pressure on her to fix the family, which meant getting me to fall in line. She finally had enough, and they had a huge fight. She told him she was going to see me, with or without his blessing. That's when he dropped a bombshell. He'd been keeping letters from me that my dad had written before he passed. Letters meant for me when I got older. My mom had no idea. I was flawed. Those letters were like a piece of my dad I never knew I was missing. My mom handed them over, apologizing for not knowing and for everything else. It was a lot to take in. I spent the night reading through my dad's words, feeling closer to him than I had in years. The next day, my mom asked if we could talk, just the two of us. We met at a local diner, a neutral place away from family pressures. She admitted that she had been wrong to try and force a relationship between me and her new family. She said she understood why I needed space and that she'd respect my boundaries from now on. It was a conversation I never thought we'd have. But here's where it gets even crazier. Jill, my younger half-sister, showed up out of nowhere. She had followed my mom, hoping to talk to me. She confessed that she had been the one to find the letters and told her dad, thinking it would bring us closer. When he hid them instead, she realized how messed up the situation was. She apologized for trolling me online and said she just wanted to get to know me, even if it was from a distance. I didn't know what to say. I was still processing the letters from my dad, and now this. I told Jill I needed time, and she understood. She gave me her number, just in case I ever wanted to reach out. As for my mom's husband, justice came in a subtle way. My mom decided to separate from him for a while, taking Jill and Janet with her. She said the fight and the letters were a wake-up call. She couldn't be with someone who would manipulate her relationship with her daughter. She's staying with my grandparents for now, figuring things out. I'm still in shock over everything that's happened. It's like the family drama I've been avoiding for years suddenly exploded, and now I'm left trying to piece together what this all means for me. But for the first time in a long time, I feel like there might be a chance for some kind of relationship with my mom, and maybe even Jill and Janet, in our own way. Now for the next story. Me, 25-year-old female, and my fiancé, 25-year-old male, are engaged and going to get married soon. My sister-in-law is blind, and my husband and I are not close with her or any of his family. He doesn't really contact them and has advised me to do the same. It isn't a surprise, as he was raised by his aunt and uncle since his parents were both 17 at that time, and his grandparents were either deceased or out of the country. His parents never tried to make any contact with him anyhow. They had a daughter after 6 years, who they cherished and thought of as their only child. Even though they were invited, they didn't show up, but only his sister showed up, which was unexpected, but she was actually very respectful, apologized on her family's behalf, and didn't make a fuss about anything. Also, his sister was not blind since birth. She had a terrible car accident due to which she lost her eyesight. Out of courtesy, I still invited them to my wedding. I was so happy about his sister showing up that I decided I wanted her to be my bridesmaid. Since she is blind, and I also sent special handwritten notes to my bridesmaids, I made her a tactile invitation card. I decided that as an activity, all of my bridesmaids would receive a card with a part of a painting in it, which I had commissioned from a professional painter of me and all my bridesmaids together. So when they would arrange and pin it up against a bulletin board, it would look like a complete painting. I conducted this activity during my bachelorette party. Also, there were no expenses spared at making my sister-in-law feel like she was just as cherished and a part of the celebration as others. The part of the painting on her card was also tactile around the borders and read in Braille, "You and me." After pinning all of them on the board, my sister-in-law went ahead to touch it, and that's where everything went downhill. Apparently, she expected everyone's card to be tactile to honor her and make her feel included. So when she went to feel them, and couldn't feel the tactile marks and realized others had gotten plain cards, she threw a whole fit about it. She ruined my bachelorette party and posted on her Instagram that I am a jerk and my wedding should be as empty as possible and that her brother is a fool to marry me. This broke my heart, but my fiancé supported me and we went on with the wedding. At first, I didn't know why she had a social media account in the first place, but I still decided to tell my friends, family, and bridesmaids to follow her since she requested, and now I deeply regret it. I haven't said anything to her because now I know nothing I do will be able to fix my broken heart and that I couldn't be bothered enough to care for her. Edit. It really was a surprise, and due to some complications with our planner, we didn't have much time to plan, and that's why only my sister-in-law received a tactile card. I understand how she could feel left out, but was it really right for her to do that? Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Sounds like your husband warned you and you didn't listen. Making a girl you don't know and had no relationship with a bridesmaid was generous, but not smart. You introduced an unknown personality into the dynamic, and it ruined what should have been a lovely day. Perhaps trust your husband on handling his own family going forward. Not the idiot. Comment 2. Not the idiot. But while I appreciate that you made some accommodation by brailing the blind sister-in-law's contribution to the painting, did it not occur to you that the whole picture activity might be a bit inappropriate when one of the bridesmaids is blind? Now, for the update. Hey everyone, it's been a month since my last post, and let me tell you, a lot has happened. I wish I could say things got better, but buckle up because this ride has only gotten bumpier. After the whole bachelorette party fiasco with my sister-in-law, things took an even more dramatic turn. You see, my fiancé and I thought we could move past her outburst and enjoy our wedding day. But boy, were we wrong. Let's rewind a bit. My fiancé, let's call him Alex, has always had a rocky relationship with his family. His parents were young and unprepared when they had him, and it wasn't long before he was living with his aunt and uncle. They were the ones who raised him, and his parents seemed to just move on, having another child, my sister-in-law, who they doted on. Alex learned to be independent early on, and I admired that about him. He didn't let his past define him. Fast forward to our wedding day. We thought his sister's Instagram rant would be the end of it. But no, she had more up her sleeve. During the ceremony, just as we were about to exchange vows, she stood up and started shouting about how I was a terrible person for not making all the bridesmaids' cards tactile. She claimed I was discriminating against her because of her blindness. The room went silent, and I felt my face flush with embarrassment. Alex was furious. He had always been protective of me, and seeing him confront his sister in front of all our guests was both heartwarming and heartbreaking. He had hoped for a peaceful wedding day, and instead, it turned into a family showdown. Now, remember how I mentioned Alex's parents never really cared for him? Well, they decided to make a surprise appearance at the wedding, probably because they heard about the drama and wanted to add fuel to the fire. They sided with their daughter, of course, accusing us of being insensitive and cruel. The confrontation was intense. Alex's uncle, who had been like a father to him, stepped in to defend us. He reminded everyone of how Alex's parents had abandoned him and how unfair it was for them to show up now and cause a scene. It was a mess, and our special day was ruined. But here's where karma comes into play, in its own subtle way. Amidst the chaos, Alex's uncle revealed something shocking. He had been putting money aside for Alex since he was a child, money that was supposed to be from his parents, but they never contributed a dime. That fund had grown significantly over the years, and he handed it over to us as a wedding gift. It was more than enough to cover the expenses of the wedding, and then some. Alex's parents and sister were stunned. They had no idea about the money, and you could see the greed in their eyes, but it was too late for them. Alex and I were the beneficiaries, and there was nothing they could do about it. The rest of the wedding was a blur. We managed to finish the ceremony, but the reception was awkward, to say the least. Many guests left early, and I don't blame them. The air was thick with tension, and the joyous occasion we had planned was nowhere to be found. After the wedding, Alex and I took some time to ourselves. We needed to process everything that had happened. It was supposed to be the happiest day of our lives, and it turned into a spectacle we'd rather forget. And as for my sister-in-law, well, she continued her rant on social media, but her followers started to see through her. They noticed how she only played the victim when it suited her, and how she never mentioned the good things we did for her. Slowly but surely, people began to unfollow her, and her influence dwindled. Alex and I are still dealing with the aftermath of the wedding. It's been tough, but we're getting through it together. We've decided to cut ties with his family for good. It's sad, but necessary for our peace of mind. We're trying to focus on the positive, like the unexpected gift from Alex's uncle. It's a fresh start for us, and we're planning to use the money to buy our first home together. But I can't shake the feeling of disappointment. I had such high hopes for our wedding day, and it's painful to think about how it all went down. I guess all we can do now is move forward and build the life we want, just the two of us. Now for the next story. I, 52-year-old woman, have 2 daughters. My eldest is 31 years old. She was my wild child. Since she started walking, she was climbing trees and terrorizing the wildlife. She would come in completely covered, head to toe in dirt and debris every day. As a teenager, she was rebellious. I was constantly worried I'd get a call that she was dead or in jail. She moved out when she was 18 and was determined to never need our help. As an adult, she is mature and responsible. She has a master's degree in business and is in charge of a hospital and a couple of doctor's offices. She met her husband, 33 years old, when she was 21, and those two were perfect for each other. They own a farm and have a set of triplets. They had infertility problems. They have never once asked for money or really needed any help from us at all. Maybe to babysit every now and then, but that's about it. Those two just have it all put together. My youngest, 27 years old, lives in a camper trailer with her husband. They have 5 children, and she is pregnant again. They also have several cats and dogs. Both work, but both have low-paying jobs. Both refuse to do more. I gave her just as much as her sister to go to college. She chose not to and spent it all. It seems like every week they need money for something. We pay most of their bills: power, water, car insurance, phones, etc. I don't want my grandchildren living in the dark, so I pay. Recently, my husband and I did our will and named our eldest executor of the estate. We both have some serious health problems, so we figured it was time. Honestly, we should have done it sooner, but better late than never. Our eldest didn't say anything about the money, and mostly just asked questions about what we want her to do, how we want funerals, and if we wanted to be buried or cremated, what to do with the estate, etc. The normal end-of-life stuff. We, my husband and I, divided our inheritance, and our eldest got most of it. My reasoning is, our youngest has used all of her inheritance in the money we are constantly having to give her. I did divide out my jewelry equally, and several other items for them, and when we pass, they are to sell our home and equally split it. Well, this has caused a huge issue with my youngest, who believes I am favoring her sister. I don't believe so. Her sister has simply not needed any of her inheritance, and is the more responsible of my daughters. I know when the time comes, she will know what to do and will do what is necessary for everything. My youngest has decided to no longer speak to me, so I'm trying to figure out if I'm being a hole. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Not the idiot. You have provided help for your immature and irresponsible daughter for much of her adult life. You are 100% correct. She has already spent a vast majority of her inheritance by taking money from you as often and as much as she has. She has a low-paying job and refuses to change, all while refusing to stop having kids. Who does that? Why in the hell would anyone want to live in a trailer with 6 kids and multiple animals? A little advice: make sure your oldest daughter knows you want the house sold. I wouldn't be shocked if the youngest tries to talk the oldest into letting her have the house for her family when you're gone. Comment 2. Not the idiot. You are allowed to divide your estate as you see fit. It is not at all unusual for a person to divide their estate unequally, for many reasons. I guess the youngest figured the gravy train would keep coming, but you are spending her part of the estate now, as you explained. I would reconsider continuing to pay her now, though. What if your deaths aren't imminent, as you think? Do you want her to drain your estate? You are wise to let them know this in advance. Double-check with a lawyer that the will can't be challenged. Now, for the update. Hey everyone, thanks for all the comments on my last post. It's been a week, and boy, do I have an update for you. So, after the whole will situation blew up, things went from bad to worse. My youngest daughter, who had cut off communication, decided to confront me at the worst possible time. My husband had just been admitted to the hospital for his heart condition, and emotions were already running high. She showed up, unannounced, with all 5 kids in tow, right in the middle of the chaos. Her arrival was like a storm, loud and impossible to ignore. She demanded to know why I was punishing her by giving her less in the will. I tried to explain again that it wasn't punishment, but but she wasn't having any of it. In the midst of our heated argument, my eldest daughter walked in. She had been at the hospital managing some administrative issues when she heard the commotion. She tried to mediate, but that only made things worse. My youngest accused her of manipulating us into giving her more of the inheritance. The confrontation escalated quickly, and before I knew it, my youngest was shouting accusations and hurtful things not just at me, but at her sister too. She said that her sister had always been the golden child, always getting what she wanted, while she was left with scraps. It broke my heart to hear her say that because it wasn't true. I've always loved them both equally. But the real jaw-dropper came when my eldest, in a rare moment of vulnerability, confessed that her life wasn't as perfect as it seemed. She revealed that the farm was struggling and they were barely making ends meet. The triplets had medical issues that were draining their finances, and her husband had been injured recently, unable to work. I was stunned. She had never asked for help, never even hinted that they were in trouble. It was a side of her I hadn't seen since she was a rebellious teenager, trying to handle everything on her own. The realization that she was still that fiercely independent girl inside hit me hard. The room fell silent as we all processed what she had just said. My youngest's face softened, and I could see the regret in her eyes. But pride is a tricky thing, and instead of reconciling, she grabbed her kids and left, leaving a trail of tension behind. Since then, my husband's condition has stabilized, but the rift in our family has not. My youngest hasn't reached out, and my eldest is throwing herself into work, avoiding any personal discussions. It's like watching her revert to her teenage years, where she built walls so high I couldn't reach her. I've been reflecting on the past, wondering where things went wrong. I remember the days when my youngest would follow her big sister around, trying to be just like her. But as they grew up, their paths diverged so drastically. My eldest went off to college, while my youngest spent her college fund on a life that seemed to bring her joy at the time. I've been trying to bridge the gap, sending messages to my youngest, but they go unanswered. I worry about her, about all of them. The stress of the situation has taken a toll on my health too, but I keep that to myself. My husband and I have enough on our plate without adding to the family drama. The heartbreak of this whole ordeal is overwhelming. I never imagined my family would be torn apart like this, especially over something as trivial as money. I always thought the love we have for each other would be enough to overcome any obstacle. But now, I'm not so sure. I keep hoping for a moment of clarity, a chance for reconciliation, but as each day passes, that hope dims a little more. It's a heavy weight to carry, knowing that my decisions, however well-intentioned, have contributed to this divide. If you like this video, you'll probably like these too. Also, while you're here, please consider subscribing. It's your support that keeps this channel alive and allows me to make better and longer videos. Have a great day.